Good morning, Chrishaun.
Good morning, Jen. Good morning, Jen. Um, I was wondering if we could talk about rest
Definitely, let's talk about rest.
because, boy, howdy, it would appear that we both needed it, huh?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay, let me turn my volume up just a smidgen. Okay, we talk about the creative life being about our work, right? And
Mhm.
talking about how much money we want to make, right?
Yeah.
And what bills we have to pay. But I don't think anyone, well, they have, but I don't know if I want to talk about factoring and budgeting in rest in your creative life.
It's really important. I think it's ignored a lot, but it's really important. Because it's so easy when you're your own boss, it's so easy to just be doing stuff all the time. Like,
Yes,
I don't like I work from home and I set my own schedule, but that means I don't really have a schedule. I just do stuff.
right. Do stuff randomly, right? I was just, no, seriously, doing stuff randomly. One of my co-writers, Kent Jennings, for the games, we're doing Medusa's Trekking Company
Mhm.
as our next game. And she slid into my DMs all like, hey, how about we do something really cute like Honey Heist from the creature's point of view? And I was like, hey, how about we make the game where creatures prepare for children's first hunt? Because the hunt begins at 7 years old,
Mhm.
right? And that's a young, tender age. But it isn't, you're not killing a creature, you're capturing them.
Mhm.
And it's usually during this time, especially from 7, 8, 9, creatures who are offering themselves to be caught in order to assist the child,
Mhm.
right? Like um, the the house Hobbs, who helps do things like train you in certain things, or helps you clean your room, or helps you with your math. And what they'll do is you go to a certain area where they are known to be, and you kind of, let's say you want to learn how to be a carpenter, you would set out like a saw and hammer and nails to signify this is, it's kind of like Match.com, but for monsters and children. It's like, this is what I'm looking for.
These are more
And
Monsters Inc. type monsters. Like
yes,
yeah.
and they come out and they steal your shit and run, and you got to go catch them, right? And and that's what it is. That's what the child is doing. Is they're just trying to go and capture this thing. And every once in a while, depending on the creature, they'll give you hints or tricks or tips.
Mhm.
I'm like, no, you got to do it this way, or everybody's pointing that way if they're trying to figure out where they hid. It's supposed to be a fun experience. It's
Mhm.
supposed to be something that you work with the creatures, because in monster hunting in Shaman States of America as a whole, these monsters that are hunted are ones that, for some reason, just just won't be civil,
Mhm.
that are greedy, that are taking too much.
Mhm.
And that was the reason why you don't see a whole lot of folks seeing monsters at random and destroying them. I cut out an entire scene of the mantle because of that.
Mhm.
Because it isn't just, oh, I see something, let me slay it. It's, I see something, there is a system to see if this is just monsters acting foolish or
Mhm.
monsters being malicious, right?
Okay.
So I wanted to do a nice little cozy game like that, and then adult it up, because the same can also be done for specters, which are the powers that hunters have, right?
Okay.
If they have hunted and successfully hunted a creature, and the specters are like, I like the cut of your jib, they can present themselves as an additional power if the hunter is able to take them on.
Mhm.
And so we were talking about that, and that seems really fun. And that's one more thing that we never scheduled the rest.
Right.
You know, like we never schedule. It's like, how did you jump from one thing to another? It's because I'm constantly thinking about my job.
Mhm.
I'm constantly doing something. Right? I um I'm always researching something. I'm always consuming um, things that exhilarate me. But sometimes my brain just needs to stop. And we have built practices around vilifying rest
Mm-hmm.
and also vilifying doing things that make things easy for us.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at this meme about someone saying, "Oh, just do things that are easy for you. Cut your food in smaller pieces. Do a small bit and then rest." Right? Doing these things that take care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because we really should be in the business of taking care of our moneymaker first and foremost. That is our first product, ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And even God rested. Right? He built something. And he was like, "Whew, that's good. Let me lay down." And then he took another day to look around and see everything he did and rested. I would propose that it is um, the work of greed to be constantly pushing, 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 pushing. All right. It is, it's not taking care of yourself. Projecting that on other people is a sort of shame and guilt that we really don't need. And a lot of people feel they don't want to rest, don't want to sleep because then I'll let somebody down. They'll be fine. They will be fine if you, especially if you have treated them consistently with empathy, truth, joy, kindness, and anti greed. If you've treated them that way, you've given a lot of space for them to sit up there and rest, right?
It's true.
And if you're finding, yeah, and if you're finding that you're not getting that back, somebody is being, they're taking a rest, but then want to guilt you because you're taking time for yourself, you're preserving your peace, you're figuring out who you are,
Mm-hmm.
then that's not a person that you want to be around, truly, because it feeds but it doesn't fill, and you do want both. You don't want it to be transactional, but you must recognize how much is enough for you. We
Mm-hmm.
all have certain levels in our well, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And we always make sure that we have enough. And it isn't greedy to ask for enough. It's just learning when enough is enough. And learning when enough is enough is a lesson that I've been learning these last 2 weeks. And that links in right into rest. Um, why do you find that you're struggling with resting without shame and guilt? Because that's
I
what we're talking about.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I feel like there's always something else I could be doing or should be doing. And it's not even anybody else that's putting it on me. It's just me. And some of it is I get really excited and I want to do a bunch of things. And then I forget that all of these things that I want to do are actually composed of 100 tiny little steps that all actually have to get done. And so like
Yes.
and it's um I was talking to a friend of mine this morning because I was working on my outline for the book that so the novella that I was supposed to outline for today, that was my homework from last week, it didn't get done. So this morning I was talking to my friend about why it didn't get done and how I was stuck on something and I needed and I was asking her, like it's a romance and she writes romance and I don't. So I'm like, okay, so there's going to be this age gap at the beginning and it needs to be too much of an age gap. So how much of an age gap is too much? And we get further and further into this conversation. And then she's like, you're making this too complicated. You need to back up. Like, and it's like that with everything. Like I get really excited about something. And then the next thing you know, it's like 15 steps too far. And I just
Right.
need to like walk it back and do the first 4 steps well before I try to add like the next 10 steps that probably don't even need to be added there. Like, why are we doing
Right.
this? We're just doing it to be doing it at this point. And yeah, so it comes from a place of excitement and enthusiasm, but I don't know when to say no, when to stop myself and pull myself back. And this week it was that, and then I was doing my first freebie promo on Saturday, and I thought that that was going to be easier than it was to get set up. And then I got it set up, And it went like 5,000 people downloaded my book, um,
Nice.
which is insane to me. Um, and I'm trying to explain it to my husband, and all he's thinking is those are 5,000 people that didn't pay for it. And I'm like, well, that's not what this is for. I'm hoping that,
Yes.
if 10% or if 5% of them write reviews for me, then like that's a massive number of reviews compared to what I've got now. Um,
Hmm.
and then I also, since it's when it started blowing up, I went ahead and put my second book up for pre-order, which I probably should have done beforehand, but I didn't realize in advance that it was going to blow up that much, because the last promo I did was a 99-cent promo, and I sold like 108 books. And I thought 108 was a lot
It
until
is.
until I gave away 5,000. And I'm like, okay, that's a but so I set up the whatever, the pre-sales for the new book.
Hmm.
And I sold 3, um,
Hmm.
which is cool. Um, it's more than I would have if I hadn't set that up.
Right.
um, so,
Right.
oh, I jumped in deeper than I thought I was going to, and some of it is I didn't anticipate problems, because I haven't ever done it before.
Right. You can't anticipate something that you don't know anything about.
Right.
This is this is you knowing or learning what you did not know,
Yeah.
fully knowing that you did not know what you did not know.
Right.
So yeah, don't do that. Please save yourself, give yourself that peace. And you will always see a big discrepancy between sales numbers and freebies behind a promo.
Right.
And also, 5,000 is an excellent number. That means 5,000 folks said, I'll take a chance on this,
Right.
right? And that is what you're looking for.
Right. And then when it didn't immediately go back to free, I was like, that's okay, because my Amazon rate kept going up. And on the
Right,
second day, I hit number 1 in one of my categories. I was number
right.
1 in, I mean, it's number 1 in the free, but it's number 1 in contemporary fantasy, and then it was
And
number
stop
2.
downgrading that.
That's true. That's true.
And
It's true.
stop downgrading that,
Yeah,
because there are millions of books that will never see that.
that's true.
That is a result of all your choices and all your aesthetics and hitting the audience. Do not downgrade a free ranking. You are a best selling author because people looked and chose you, okay?
Thank you.
Please. And smack George because that's 5,000 who didn't pay. No, that's 5,000 who know my name.
Right. That's what I was doing this for in the first place. I have to keep reminding myself
Right.
that it was like, I have another book coming out and I want people to know I exist. That was why I did this. And now
Hmm.
there's 5,000 people that do. And so that means my cover worked. That means my
Hmm.
blurb worked. That
Hmm.
means my sales page on Amazon must be pretty good,
Hmm.
because people chose me over the other free books that were out there. Um,
Or in addition to.
or in addition to. Um, Yeah, and it was like number, I think it ended at number 64 in the whole free, in the whole Kindle free store. Number It
Yes.
was in the top 100. And I was like,
Yes.
that's insane.
You were a top 100 author.
Yeah.
Period. Okay?
Hmm.
And there will be folks who's like, well, it's paid, just like you said, it's free. So what? What are you ranking at?
Yeah.
I did this work and my work resulted in this. That's worth celebrating whether you believe it or not. And if you don't, you're not part of my audience, so your opinion has low weight. Feel me? And that's part of it when I talk about how you're looking through the student lens, it kind of eliminates shame and guilt, right?
Hmm.
That's a tactic to make you feel shame
Hmm.
because it's an achievement that they are not willing to pay the cost to
Hmm.
do, right?
Hmm.
For whatever reason, we're not going to judge their reason. The reason is theirs. The reason why we're going through this exercise is to draw a line between your achievements and their opinions, because these are two
Hmm.
separate things. right? You have social proof that what you're doing is working. Okay. Fuck what you heard. It's working.
Yeah.
Keep going in that direction, making your adjustments.
Yeah.
Right? This is what we're trying to do. This is a step towards becoming a creative that whose life is paid for through their art.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't want to get on there with you, they know what to do with it. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing they must do is be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
they, you must be quiet or you must be ignored. Or you
Yeah.
will be ignored because it really doesn't hold any weight. Um, and that goes for folks who write in odd genres or who write really fast or any of those things. I was at a conference a few years back and somebody asked me about there was a really popular author who was like churning out 100,000 word novels, a couple of those a month
Wow.
because she just had the discipline to do so
Yeah.
and just showing the work and everything. That's before AI and all that.
Right.
And somebody asked me, is that, do you really think they're good? And I hate that question. I hate that question because you're not asking if they're good. The question is a lot. The question is there something I can use to make myself feel better about the fact that I'm not doing that or I cannot do that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I was honest. Do you think that's good? That's not for me to judge. The people who are judging are the folks who put their money down. It's the folks who press the button,
Right.
right? And as long as people continue to pay her, I'm going to say, yeah,
She must be that good if they're paying for.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're at least, at the very least, they're that good to them.
To
She's
that.
that
Yeah.
good to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that matters.
That's true.
That's all that matters. And how you feel about it is a reflection of the shame and guilt that you need to process through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and that shame and guilt because you should be doing something is the reason why we kind of get away from slowing down
Right.
because we have to think it has to be always going, 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 or we put ourselves in a position, which I did, that I had to be going, going, going because my I set the standard of success based on what other people were doing
Mm-hmm.
and opposed to what I really wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to do, if I'm really honest, is be kind of lazy. I want to live like a cat. I want to have blocks of time where I'm working and blocks of time where I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Just not doing anything. Just letting my brain. Do you watch The Boys?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen The Boys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so Sister Sage, how she has to be
Oh, I love her.
lobotomized.
She's.
I understand that because when your brain is constantly thumping like a
Mm-hmm.
nightclub, you got streaming services and everything, you just want to turn all
Turn
that
it off.
shit
Yeah.
off. Turn it off and just kind of enjoy things because it's a joy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, there doesn't have to be a reason. And this is kind of me going into how do I rest?
Mm-hmm.
And I do it by just enjoying things, indulging in things that are silly and fun, and because it's just cool,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why I color, and that's why I watch a lot. I have been going through and trying to find a lot of the children's shows I watched, and I've been going through those again, just trying to remember what it is about these things that were so great. There's also something else related to it, and that's the concept of slowing down.
Yeah, well, that's what
Because,
we were talking about in the last. When you said you wanted to talk about rest, I was like, well, that's a good tie-in from the last video that I just finished editing it, and I named it "Slowing Down" because that's
yeah,
what we were talking about. But we were talking
right.
about how we were rebelling against it and how angry we got when somebody told you to slow down.
Yes,
And I think now we're realizing that maybe we do need to.
yes, that's exactly what happened. Because once I got done being booty hurt, I just sit there and I was like, no, I can. I can take the time. I thought I was running out of time, and I'm not running out of time. When you always have enough, and when you look through your life as having enough, and you treat your finances that way, you find that you have these pockets of time. It leads to time where you can rest,
Mm-hmm.
and it leads to resources being available that allows you to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So knowing that the I'm not moving just yet,
Mm-hmm.
but knowing that I have all the structures available, everything is in place for me to move once I do that. So this divorce is going forward, and I kept on putting off, not wanting to face it.
Mm-hmm.
But as we went through it and slowly went through everything, I was able to process all these emotions.
Mm.
20 years of this life that I really dig, that it's been badass, truly. Going through it, feeling it, understanding why, number one, I'm feeling it and why it hurts so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then resting,
Mm-hmm.
where I don't feel anything and I'm allowed to just kind of soak in my emotions and then understand and see the truth of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it felt like practice, it
Mm-hmm.
felt like practice. It feels like, how do you heal a broken heart? That's what it feels
Yeah.
like. You go and you look at all those wonderful things and those great memories,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't let the reality of it tarnish it. You
Mm-hmm.
don't let the shame and guilt tarnish that, because both of these things are true. I really had a great time at that Black Sabbath concert.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we had all kinds of adventures getting to San Antonio and getting through the cloud, and we were ecstatic that there were just as many folks our children's age as ours
Okay.
there, because he did his last show in the United States in San Antonio, Texas, where he was banned for pissing on the Alamo because cocaine is a hell of a drug. I can hold that and still say this is ending, and I'm building this ending with the same person I built the beginning with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then kind of cry and sit down and have some fresh air and then get back into it. It's part of the cycle of getting good with your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Shame and guilt never allows you to be good with yourself, never allows you to be happy. And so, whenever yeah, I'm going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of a lot of Christians I know do not think that things like yoga and meditation are of the devil,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to the point where things like prayer, silent prayer, is something that they just cannot handle. Many of them. And I think part of that is this requires you to be still with your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
which is something the Lord tells us to do. Be still, be silent, be still. And once you actually get still, all these things, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should be doing that, all those come and inundate you. And true resting allows you to say, no, I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm doing is this. And I am good when I do this. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It is the aspirin to the emotional pain that you are experiencing, knowing that you have a right. It is your moral obligation. It is your duty. It is your worship, if
Mm-hmm.
you would,
Yeah.
to work, and then reflect, and then don't do anything. Just like don't do anything. And what happens when we rest? We figure out whether or not what we're doing is enough, or
Mm-hmm.
if we've done enough. All right. We can make reasonable expectations. We can make adjustments without guilt and shame. We can make those pivots,
Mm-hmm.
right? All that is done in the resting space, in the contemplative and resting spaces. But if you're not used to kind of looking at yourself and identifying who you are in the situation are identifying what things, what what spouts of feel good juice are being uh, um, shot off at
Mm-hmm.
the time, what hormones are being engaged, um, what pleasure centers are being engaged. It could be hard, just because we don't sometimes really don't want to admit the things that really give us joy because we think it's silly. Shame and guilt. We're told that it's silly, that you shouldn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And the thing that cures that is everybody acknowledging that it's okay
Mm-hmm.
to sit up there and enjoy what you enjoy and without shame and guilt, which is the reason why we have Snoop Dogg and Eazy at the Olympics.
Right.
They came from West Coast gangster rank and gang affiliation. They
Mm-hmm.
came from that environment,
Yeah.
right? And Flavor Flav is sitting up there. He's a lecturer at Harvard now. Yeah, I mean he truly is
Yeah.
because part of he was part of the history of hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
right? Snoop Dogg working with Martha Stewart is the best marketing ever. And then he got Skechers, and it was funny. He was telling the story about how he got the Skechers deal, and he's like, I have people who kind of shield me, and I understand what the guy who was gatekeeping was trying to do, saying that it was beneath me. Like doing Skechers was beneath me. Doing
Mm-hmm.
shoes was beneath me. What he didn't realize, what I had to tell him was, shoes are beneath all of us, right?
Yeah.
And and he was like, I want to sit there and make quality of shoes for the nurses and the
Mm-hmm.
social workers, the restaurant workers. It isn't all about the ballers and the hoopers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy who's in there working the warehouse needs shoes too, right? Checking in your ego,
Mm-hmm.
making adjustments, right? And expressing and liking what you like. And I also saw his enamel pin exchange. Did you see him when he's smoking the 5 Olympic rings? He's smoking the 5 Olympic rings. His enamel pin for trading at the Olympics was top tier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he checked in his ego and he said, this is not too whatever for me, too soft for me,
Right.
right? Because he was able to check that and he was able to up himself to all these experiences. And we're I'm going to spend a little time, but all the charitable work he's done, all the actual work he's done,
Oh yeah.
because he's been involved in youth sport for ever since his kids were little. He's got grandkids, and he coaches them too.
Right. Yeah, he's become just really, as he's gotten older, it's very interesting, like all of the ways he's stepped away from the like the gangster image and become like this, like I don't know, he's like a friendly grandfather now. It's so it's
That's right.
strange and also beautiful at the same time.
It is. Do you know how that happened?
No.
Dionne Warwick, when all of these guys started coming up, she called them all to his house and said, "Quit that shit." And some of them listened. And Snoop Dogg, he'll tell the story. Look it up.
Okay.
He'll tell you the story. He was like, "Yes, ma'am," and he started doing little things to change it, right?
Okay.
But it's very difficult because you have to shield against people who are really trying to enforce a certain narrative on you.
Mm,
Like, what makes what Easy and Snoop Dogg so remarkable, and I've never been in gang culture in California, but I have family who lives out there, and I can understand how much of a family and a unit it is.
mm,
It's hard to get out of because that's your center of support. Those are the spheres of which you've developed your life and those standards of which you have, well, guided your life so far. That's your support system.
mm.
These are the people who have always had your back, right? So you don't want to go away from that because it's very hard to develop a new one as you get older. Uh, but within it, it was hard to kind of establish things that gave you joy. I remember listening to this essay about a guy who introduced some gang members to D&D, and they had to meet in secret because they didn't. These gang members didn't want other folks knowing that they were doing some nerd shit,
Right, right.
right? But the funny thing is, there is a huge subsection of like D&D nerds in, in the gang, and not only that, but it was allowed that was allowed to flourish once video games came out.
Hmm.
And those fighting games, those hip hop fighting games, oh my god, love those. And it allowed those things to open up. It was less shame and guilt around them.
Hmm.
Uh, it makes sense to me, and I just love seeing it. Um, and that's because somebody took the time to stop, slow down, rest,
Hmm.
reconsider, and adjust at looking at things and not at the shame and guilt of it or not being affected by the shame and guilt. So if I had to sit up there and kind of narrow it down, up, say rest allows you to fight shame and guilt. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where it is with that. So what are you planning on getting done this week?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm we're taking the kids to Disney World. So we are leaving tomorrow afternoon and we will be gone until the following Saturday.
Hmm.
Um we are meeting up with my brother-in-law and his three kids and then my sister-in-law and her daughter. Um so we're going to have a 12-year-old, three 10-year-olds and two 7-year-olds. Um,
You know what? That's like the perfect group of kids for Disney World.
but yeah, so anyway, so we've been working on planning all of that stuff, and I think we've gotten to a place now where everything is kind of lined up and everything is set up, and now we just have to go and do it and have a good time. We'll all be together in this big house, and the house has a
Hmm.
pool, and so that'll be cool. We haven't seen these kids in a while. I think probably since Christmas last year was
Right.
when we saw them. So it's exciting for the kids to spend time together and to get to see each other. But yeah, so that's this week. This week is a checkout week of I'm not gonna do. I went in yesterday before I got the headache, and I scheduled a bunch of social media posts so that I don't have to be checking my social media while I'm there.
So what am I doing this week?
Yeah, what are you
I
doing?
am going to do my own sort of rest and practice my 10 writing pages.
Okay,
I love the writer's way because I'm just kind of easing back into prose again
okay.
because want to I want to communicate more in my newsletter than I have been.
Hmm.
And so what's been the most successful thing I've done so far is the 10 pages where I'm just writing stuff down. And I've decided that whatever I write down during that time will be 500 words on. It's CK is a fan of. It is what I'm doing with my newsletter because I kind of like a diary sort of thing that I can use to then repurpose as content.
So you're writing
And I
10
think that's
pages at a time and then you're breaking that up into like 500 word increments or
no, I'm just going to write 10 pages of what I'm thinking and feeling.
okay.
And then the next day, after I've written the other 10 pages, I'm going to read over what I wrote the day before
Okay.
and see if there's anything that I want to present to the public.
Okay. So you're writing 10
There's,
pages a day?
yes.
Okay.
If you, the artist way, are you familiar
I've
with it?
heard of it, but I don't remember.
Yeah, part of that, one of the keystone, the cornerstones of that is your writing pages, which was supposed to be 10 longhand pages.
Mm.
And she says not to use a computer,
Right.
but I do understand that she may be a witch and that I am going to switch this over to techomancy and I'm going to say do it digitally. I'm going to say do it digitally because the days of the long hand, while still here, may not appeal to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
May not appeal. Those 10 writing pages now
Mm-hmm.
is the same as writing longhand then, because now we would just jump on a video for our long form,
Sure.
jump on and make a video. So no, this is the same comparison. So 10 digital pages, and I'm just outpouring whatever I want to talk about, and I because I'm getting used to talking again and expressing myself again. So we're going to ease into it, and we're just going to 10 pages of whatever, and then I'll read it and see if there's something later on. I
Mm-hmm.
put no expectation on what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not supposed to. That's the one thing I do love about this practice. Her instructions was, even if all you can write is I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write.
Mm-hmm.
Write it, right?
That's
We're
what I was going to
developed.
ask. Is there a prompt, or are you just writing what comes to mind?
You're writing what comes to mind.
Okay.
It is a exercise in putting your butt in the chair,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it is the practice of when you open up a blank page, you don't panic.
Mm-hmm.
When you place your fingers on the keys, your brain then goes, okay, we're shifting this to the video screen, up here to through here, down the shoulder and the arms, fingertips, right?
Mm-hmm.
It only comes with consistency and practice and dedicated and intentional like doing and no expectations of what comes out, because eventually the connection will be made and will be stronger and stronger and stronger. And ah, my earbud fell out, which is why I will wait until the next day
Mm-hmm.
to actually read it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You need the distance.
Yeah, I want the distance. And I also find that if I leave my stuff down and walk away and come back, I'm like, shit, I'm a good writer. That happens. So that's what I am doing this week, because everything else, like my cards are being printed, my books are being printed. I've already sent a video out to everybody letting them know that the Kickstarter fulfillment is going to be delayed 3 weeks. And it will be.
Yay! That was your thing from last
Yeah.
week. Was you needed to send out a
Yes.
video.
Yes. I ended up doing a video.
Okay.
It's like I can't do it. But yeah, I let everybody know that. And so I can rest. And this is how I want to rest. I want to rest by gently associating good time and pleasure with these 10 pages. That's what I'm doing.
That sounds
That's
really
that's
good.
what I'm focusing on. Yeah, it does sound good.
That sounds
Not as
really
good
good.
as Disney World, but it sounds good.
I don't know. I may have to bring some notebooks. I'm not bringing my laptop because I'm afraid something will happen to it.
Hmm.
But I may need to bring some notebooks and do some journaling in the evenings after we get back and I'm exhausted.
Yeah, and you might want to take a time to look at the merch. See,
Is
this
there
is me
merch?
working again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No. Yes. I
I mean, not so much in a research and development vein, as
mhm.
in, what do you really, really like? Like, when you go through the happiest place on earth, what
Mhm.
makes you happy in the
Mhm.
happiest place on earth,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I've been seeing all this stuff about the pin trading that people do, and
Hmm.
I was not aware of that when I don't know why, because I've been to Disney World twice, but it was before my kids were born. Um,
Right.
but so I don't know if it's just because I have pins now that I am more aware of that being a thing. But I was looking at like the things that people do when they go to Disney World, and I didn't know that pin trading was like such a massive. Anyway, so I want to go look at their pins.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are you loving? What were you loving this week?
Am I loving this week? I am.
Don't try to make it impressive or anything. Just tell me what
I
you
know.
like in
I'm
it.
trying to think because I just like I feel like I haven't done anything, but it's not true. We were watching the Olympics, and
Hmm.
I had my kids watch some of the swimming for medals because we're trying to figure out. if they want to continue with their summer swimming, and a bunch of their friends do like year-round swimming, and so it was kind of cool to watch and to show them like how fast they go. My 7-year-old was super excited about the size of the pool because they're swimming in a 50-meter pool and he swims in a 25-meter pool, and he's like, I would drown, I would not make it to the other side. And I was like, you would be
You'll be
fine,
fine.
you would be
You'll
fine,
be okay.
you would be okay. It's a lot of practice. And I was like, if you want to get better, then we got to practice more. And I thought that this might motivate them to want to practice more. It did not. It motivated them to want to cheer for the people in the pool, which was good. So that was great. And then we watched the BMX biker race. And the kids
Right,
were really excited about what the track looked like, and it kind of looks like Mario Brothers from when they show it from the ceiling, or from like they do the overhead with the drone, and they're like, "Oh,
right.
it looks like the track that we do for Super Mario." And then they were really impressed that they were riding their bikes on gravel and that there were trees in the middle of the path and stuff like that. They thought that was really cool. So that was pretty cool.
I am. You know what I'm really loving is I'm going to be political because my
Okay.
very existence is political, and I'm really liking folks just being joyful. What is his name? Parker. Oh, bloody hell. The leader of the Young Democrats of Georgia. He was the one, he was a skinny white dude dancing and lip sync and singing Drake at the Kamala Harris rally in Atlanta.
I did not see that, but I'm gonna have to look it up now.
And they had him on MSNBC. And not only is he's fun and enjoying it, but he's respectful and
Mhm.
he's he's able to articulate his joy and the road ahead of us.
Mhm.
I'm loving how at the National Association of Black Journalists was this Rachel Scott sit
Mhm.
up there and just kind of held the line and
Mhm.
held Trump accountable and asked him questions and required truth from him.
Mhm.
And it was difficult to watch. It was hard to watch because I don't like watching people squirm, but I
Yeah.
also like watching when people hold the line.
Right.
And and along with that, trying to find what I'm loving this week is watching people scramble and use the old accusations and tactics against a
Mhm.
black woman that they've always used against black women and it not working. That's
Yeah.
the thing that I'm loving this week because we talked about that, well, about the man eater allegations and the hoochie mama allegations. And you see them trying to do the same thing with Kamala Harris and everything, the microaggressions around how to pronounce her name. They
Mhm.
know how, but
Right.
what they try to do is remove the importance of the weight a name has, right? Then they say, "Oh, she slept around." I'm like, all that is admitting that you withheld things.
Mhm.
You withheld things so she couldn't earn them merit through her merit, right?
Mhm.
She's a DEI hire. Um, that's admitting that you are blocking her from her because of her race. That you the only thing that you are actually wanting to block her on is her race,
Right.
and the fact that she could have all the qualifications in the world. That doesn't matter because you don't want her there, and how those are just being seen for what they are and being bypassed
Mhm.
because those things can hurt you on an everyday level, right? And I've had to go through that. And I've gone through that several times with organizations and people who, at the very least, saw themselves on the right side of history or saw themselves being righteous. And to see it not do her the kind of damage that it once would makes my heart lighter. I'm still having an issue with some folks in our community as Black women who want to resort to a bit of coonery and respectability politics, talking about Meg the Stallion shouldn't be shaking her ass. That's how Meg the Stallion got her money. What are we talking about right now? I'm like, she is richer than you and your man through shaking her ass,
Yeah.
right? And she knows how to sit up there and diversify that money. She's sitting up there doing all the stuff in Japan, and she was on She-Hulk, and she's on Planet Fitness. She doing all the commercials. She was in the Paris Olympics promos. She was also in the Super Bowl promos, right?
Mhm.
You weren't worried about her shaking her cans then, or maybe you were, and you were mad. And guess what? She's still making that money. And
Okay.
guess what? She's gonna spend some of that money to get Kamala Harris into the White House. And what is your problem? That you can't? That sounds personal.
I do love where that the support is coming from, just like all over the place, and people that you wouldn't expect to have an opinion about political stuff coming out. And it's just like I feel like every day there's something new that comes out, and it's just fun. It's like
Right.
positive, and it's fun, and it's joyful, and it just makes me so happy. Like it's I keep seeing all these things on TikTok about like we've jumped a timeline, we're on a different, whatever, and I was like,
Yeah.
it really feels that way. And like to have people come out and be talking about Trump as be and calling him weird, and I'm like,
Weird.
he is though. Like why haven't we said that before? Like I was they've always said the opposition to Trump has been to make him be like Hitler or something, and that he's just evil, and that he's destroying the world, and he's destroying the universe, and that
He
me,
wants to be seen as
he
that. He
wants
wants
that.
to be seen
Like
as seen as a dictator.
why are you giving him that power? Like why are you
Right.
telling why are you making him seem so important? That's what he wants, is to feel super important. Like he's a weirdo. Like why haven't we been saying that from the beginning?
Right? Because because we've been seeing it, and I hate to put it this way, but we have been holding this perspective in this mirror through kind of like white male lenses,
Yeah.
right? Well, let me make this right. He wants to be liked,
Mhm.
and he wants to be seen as powerful, and that is at the core of what motivates him and a lot of men like him,
Mhm.
which was who was running against him, a dude like him,
True.
right? And he had set up his entire campaign to talk about, oh, I'm powerful, oh, I can be a dictator, oh, I can take your choices away from you, and you don't have to worry about, you won't have to vote anymore
Mhm.
because I am more virile, more powerful than Sleepy Joe over here. And what happened? What tipped the timeline is that Sleepy Joe, who was mad, big mad, when the Democrats asked him to step down,
Mhm.
had a choice. He was at the crossroads.
Mhm.
He can take the short term L
Mhm.
to his ego and do something that was better in the long run for everyone involved, including Donald Trump,
Mhm.
or he could take this immediate win, fight with his ego, win, fight hard and win, and then go have everything go into chaos because he cannot make it through the term,
Mhm.
or worse, lose
Mhm.
to Trump. All right, Biden made the decision.
Mhm. And the timing of it was real good too.
Oh, the time. Oh, let me talk about the timing. Give me a minute. He stood up there, and I honestly think he looked through this through the lens, and he looked past the shame and guilt of stepping down and what that would mean, and he was like, "This is what's best." And once he did that, and everybody got a moderate that's hard on crime, but also not trying to take away the abortions. Oh my God! And then she's also, even though she's tough on crime, she said in policies that, like, low offense, nonviolent drug users, we can get you set up in parenting classes, finance
Mhm.
classes, trade jobs, get your credit clean, get your
Mhm.
mind right, get your
Mhm.
people right, get your house right. And she did that, right? So now you got the weed people, right? You've got a lot of people here who are just like, okay, I can breathe now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it isn't, and it stopped being about, oh, he's the evil. It's like he's a weirdo. Can we just say that he's a
Can we
weirdo?
just? We were all
And
embarrassed
that
by
and
him.
that goes into they don't like me and I want to be
Mm-hmm.
liked. And it subverts that I'm a powerful person. No, you're a weirdo. It
Yeah.
subverts all of that. And he doesn't know how to counteract with that because he cannot see the truth of himself and that being rich has made him kind of odd.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot address that about himself,
Yeah.
right? That's why he surrounded himself with people who will say yes to him.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot do that. Biden could and did, and that's why Kamala is progressing because they have no defense against her.
Mm-hmm. They weren't prepared. They didn't see it coming. So.
Right? They didn't because they sit up there and geared it. They they rushed to get Trump as their nominee. They rushed to lock it in
Mm-hmm.
because they were getting a lead and they knew that they were going to need this momentum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they locked in JD Vance, they locked them all in. And it wasn't until they locked them in that Joe Biden said, oh, no, it's not me, it's her. And they can't change.
Right. Right. Like
I believe,
the waiting for that, like the not giving in when everybody first started telling him, like, you got to stop it, you got to drop out, you got to drop out. And he didn't do it. And he said no. And he waited for like that was good strat, like the strategy there. That's really impressive. And I believe that, I mean, they might have known ahead of time, but it's, the story is very believable that it was like unexpected to all of them. Have you seen Doug Emhoff's talk about what he was doing when he found out?
yes.
It's so funny where he was at the gym and he left his phone in the car and his wife.
All right. He was just hanging out with friends.
Like, how relatable is Doug right now?
He is so relatable. Oh, did you hear the story about how they met? Hey, it's Doug. But no, it's relatable because they don't try to pretend they're something they're not in
Hmm.
order to get you to like them.
Yeah.
They're like, this is what I do.
Right.
This is what I do. And these things are affecting us in real life, and these things are affecting
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
I am not talking to people who are broke who think they're rich
Hmm.
and stroking your ego. No, I'm talking to the folks who are broke, including you, that this is hurting us. And folks are starting to understand it. And folks are starting to shake their ass a little, be a little joyful. All right, then I'll leave you so you can have lunch with your hub hubs.
All right. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Right. See you then. Enjoy yourself. Bye.